Want to dominate Fortnite as a trio? Well, in today's video, we're breaking down 10 essential tips to instantly be a better trio. Using the gameplay of pro players Peterbot, Khanada, and Acorn, I'll show you how they work together in high pressure situations, from coordinated rotations to split-second decision making. We've got all the strategies you need, so let's jump in and learn from the best. The first tip will win you more fights. One of the best strategies in trios is to single out a player. Watch how Peterbot quickly jumps on this player. Then Khanada supports him by spraying with the minigun, and Acorn then goes to cut off any support by putting himself in between the two other opponents. Peterbot and Khanada's goal is to quickly take out this one player to give them a man advantage. The combination of spraying by Khanada and wall-to-wall pressure by Peterbot executes this strategy perfectly. When possible, you should always look to jump on one player to put any fight into your favor. Tip 2 is the easiest of them all. Your trio shouldn't all be holding the same thing. Each player should carry what fits their role in the trio. The heals are mixed between whites and shields, and obviously splashes will cover both, but the point is to avoid every player holding the same exact heals, whether it be minis and medkits or bigs. Peter is the fragger and has the best aim, so he holds the sniper, pump, and scar. Khanada is the support player, so he holds the minigun to spray during fights. And Acorn is the tarper and IGL, so he gets stuck with the worst weapons and slow heals. Determine the roles for your trio and what loadouts each player should use before you wind up queuing into tournaments. Tip 3 is another fighting tip. Peterbot trades knocks here. Acorn is there to quickly push off the player from Peterbot's body, but he does something super important. Instead of immediately going to fight the enemy, Acorn holds the wall and then builds space while waiting for Khanada to get an angle. This guarantees the knock on the enemy by creating a 2v1. Acorn and Khanada take two different angles, which makes it almost impossible for any player to win. By Acorn pausing slightly and showing patience, he wins his team this fight. Too often, players are trying to be the hero and win a 1v1 when they don't need to. It's a team game, so make sure you're working with your teammates. If you're enjoying the video, make sure to subscribe and let me know what your favorite tip is down in the comments. Tip 4 will help you spend less heals and mats during rotates. Watch how Acorn is the first to rotate and builds off the enemies. Most of the time, the first player can rotate freely, but the next player takes a lot of damage. This will cause you to stop and heal during rotations. The damage is unnecessary and preventable. When you see players looking at you, the IGL or whoever is rotating first needs to build them off. This gives the other players cover and saves you from burning heals that you don't need to. Plus, Acorn smartly uses brick and wood, which he will be able to refarm once he stops. The next tip goes for all game modes. Unfortunately, not enough players think about this though. You want to use the terrain to your advantage. Acorn positions his team on the outside of zone, so when it pulls far away, they know the left side of the zone is clear. That allows them to rotate along the edge of this hill on their right. They cut off the line of sight from all the other teams in the lobby, and what could have been a very difficult and expensive rotate winds up being free. You can do this with natural terrain like hills, using buildings, or even old builds from other players. Tip 6 will save your life and get you more elims. Peterbot walks to the back of the tarp and notices these players acting like they're going to make a play. Instead of waiting for that to happen, Peter calls his team over to hit them first. They crouch to avoid any audio cues and execute what is called a triple spray. You can do this to teams nearby or even teams boxed up on the other side of the zone. Peter and Acorn spray, and then Khanada tries to grab the wall. They have designated roles while doing this, so each player during this play is avoiding tripping over their teammates. Ultimately, this play fails as far as getting any elims, but they did prevent the enemies from sneaking them in the back of the tarp. So what you can take away from this is to always watch the teams around you, use triple sprays, and designate the responsibilities of each player during these situations. Tip 7 is about securing refreshes. Peter picks off this player and appears to jump on this body irresponsibly, but he does something that not every player would. Before he goes for the loot, he builds himself space to play from just in case someone tries to jump on it or take it. This also gives Acorn and Khanada somewhere to rotate to and help Peter from. When you get elims outside of your own tarp, it's vital to build space before just running at the body. Then take the builds of any enemies that could try to pump you while going for it. It barely takes any time at all, and I'm sure you've all gotten knocked while jumping on loot. Doing this will help you secure the entire refresh and avoid going down just because you got greedy. If you only learned one thing from this video, this should be it. This is the perfect high ground play. Each player in the trio has a role and does their job to perfection. First, they recognize that height can be chopped out from their builds back in the storm. Khanada has the minigun, so his job will be to break the builds. Peterbot has the sniper, so he needs to look for a snipe if the opponent starts spraying at them. And then Acorn is the distraction. Watch how he purposely tries to bait the snipe from the high ground team. He draws the attention away from his teammates and puts the focus on himself, pretending to just be a clueless player waiting to get headshot sniped. Together, they're able to chop out height without taking a single tag. Then they could just build up and play height themselves. Not every height play will be the same, but this strategy I'm sure can be repeated by you and your trio. Tip 9 is another height trick. Notice how Acorn is building on the right side of the zone. This is very important and will make your team better on height just simply by where you're building out. When you're on the sides of the zone, there are less players with angles to shoot at you. Builds that are right in the middle of the zone will be vulnerable to the entire lobby, versus the left or the right side can't be seen by a large chunk of the players below. A bonus tip here is that each player also has a job while on high ground. Acorn's primary focus is to tarp and watch for teams making a play. That's why you don't see him shooting a ton. Peterbot is trying to get elims, and Khanada's job is to not stop spraying. He's looking for anyone that's building up, using hard mats, or looking at height. Even if he doesn't get any damage or elims, he's wasting players' mats, which will help the trio win the game. The last tip is going to help you win more games. In Fortnite, you want to look for what's called a win condition. This team does that by funneling all of their white heals to Acorn. He's going to stay on height and win the game just by out-healing the rest of the players. Peterbot and Khanada will drop down to disrupt the rest of the lobby. If they can get knocks, that's awesome. If not, they want to force players to spend builds, heals, and generally just create chaos on the teams on low ground. They know they likely won't stay alive, so it doesn't matter if they go down. But their job is just do as much damage before you get knocked and make sure that players are forced into other opponents. That leaves Acorn in a heal off against one other player. Once it's in a heal off, the trio is actively looking for extra heals. That can be from bodies on the ground, campfires, or even just spare loot laying somewhere on the ground. You should do this as well to give your team the best chance to win when it's going to heal offs. Learning from the pros is one of the best ways to improve at Fortnite. There's plenty more to take away, so I'd recommend watching VODs yourself. Thank you for watching, please like, sub, and I'll see you next time.